How's it going, guys? In today's video, we're going to be looking at the logging module in Python and how you can start using it immediately, because right now, or until this point, a lot of us have been using the print statement, but the print statement is not as powerful as the logging module. So let's find out together in this video how powerful it actually is and how we can start using it in just a matter of minutes. So the first thing to note is that to use logging, you just need to import logging. It's built in, so we don't have to install anything. It's already there. We just need to import it. So what is logging? Well, to really break it down, if you're running a piece of software and you want to keep track of events as it's running, logging is what you use to keep track of those events. And when you use the logging module, there are actually 5 different levels of logging. The first one is logging.debug, and here we're just going to type in debug. Then we have logging.info, and I'm just going to write info here, logging.warning, logging.error, I will type in error there, and logging.critical. So these are the 5 levels of inbuilt warnings we have with the logging module, and the Python documentation actually gives us a quite good description on when we should use each one of them. So you would want to use debug for detailed information, typically of interest only when diagnosing problems. Info is used to confirm that things are working as expected. Warning is to indicate that something unexpected happened, but the program is still going to continue working. So if you have, for example, this low disk space. Then with error, you might have some sort of functionality that is unable to perform, and that's when you would use error. And finally, with critical, in general, your program probably won't be able to continue running, so it's a very critical issue. So those are the 5 levels that are provided by the logging module, and if we actually run this now, you'll notice that in the console we're only going to get 3 printed in the console. And that's because by default it only prints warning and above. And if you want the other ones to display, you are going to have to configure your logging module. So you would have to type in logging.config or basic config, and here you can insert the minimum level that you want to display. So for example, here we can say logging.debug, and at this point, if we run it, it's going to print everything from debug and above. Maybe you just want to print everything from error and above, so you can do that as well just by specifying the level in the configuration for the logging module. So displaying information in the console is great, but sometimes it might even be better to display it in a file so you can have a long record of everything that's happening. So instead of just typing level in here, we will just add it later, but I'm going to remove it for now. We're going to create a file. So you need to specify a file name, and I'm just going to call it my_logs.log. Then I'm going to provide an encoding, which is going to be UTF-8. And with that being done, we can just run the program once again. And if we open our project folder, you'll notice a new file called mylogs. And if you look inside that, you'll see that everything is being logged according to what runs in our script. And every time we run this, it's going to append new results, because each time we run this, it's going to log these messages, and it's not going to display it in the console anymore. It's now just going to directly add it to our mylogs file. But what if you don't want to continuously append to this file? Well, you can specify a file mode and say it's write only, which means it's going to overwrite it each time we run the script. So now if we run this file and we check our mylogs file, it's only going to have these 3, no matter how many times we run it. And again, if you want to have these 2 displaying, you need to specify that. You need to say level is equal to the logging of the minimum level you want to display. So with debug, if we run this, you'll see that all of these are going to be included in the mylogs file. But let's go back, and I'm going to remove all of that because I just want to show it in the console for this tutorial. So we're just going to leave it at level.debug, because next I need to show you how you can provide some variable data. So for example, pretend you have some sort of calculation or a function that returns some sort of result. We're just going to pretend that x was the result. So x is 10 plus 10. And we want to log that. We want to log that we got that result back. Well, here we can type in logging.info, and we're going to type in that the answer is, and we're going to format this using the %sign. And the reason we're using the %sign with the S, or this old formatting method, is for backwards compatibility. That's the main reason to use this format. This also works with more recent versions of the formatted string, such as the F string. So you can also just type in X, provide the F here, and remove the X. Both of these are accepted, but according to the documentation, this is used to maintain backwards compatibility. But if you run this, both of them are going to print the answer is 20. Now, very quickly, I'm going to create another module. So inside my folder, I'll type in Python file and call this other module. And we're going to import logging inside here. And we're going to create a function. And the function is going to say, or it's going to be log.info. And we're going to say this is from, and we will insert other underscore module.py. So we understand exactly where this log message is coming from. Next, we can go back to main.py and continue here, because I want to show you how you can configure the logging module to display more detailed information. So let's remove all of this. And once again, I'm going to remove this line of code right here, because the first thing we're going to do is now provide a format. Right now, when we were printing to the console, or let's actually go back and log something. So if we type in logging.critical and we say, okay, when we log this, you'll see that we don't really get a really nice format. This is really hard to read. Well, I mean, it's not that hard to read. We have a critical error appearing in root and the message is okay. But what if we also want to display the line number, the module name, and the actual time that this happened? Well, we do need to provide some formatting. So let's do that with the basic configuration. So here we'll type in format, and the first one we're going to add is % level name followed by an S. So this code here is going to give us the level name of the log that we are currently logging. So if it's debug, it's going to show debug. If it's critical, it will show critical. And before I move on, it's actually important to mention that this is not random. It is following a special code that they created in Python. And these are the attributes for it. So I'm just going to open up this link and show you some of them, because this is where you will get them from. And I will leave a link to this in the description box down below. But here you will find all the Logrecord attributes. So as you can see, there's %AsciiTime S, and that's going to give us the current time. Then you got level numbers, you get line numbers. These are the codes you need to follow in this string to get it formatted. But moving back here, we can continue formatting this. So now we have the level name, and I'm going to create some parentheses and use $ASC time and put an S again. So that's going to give us the time for that, followed by the actual message. So $message S. And I also want to provide the line number. So I'm going to add some parentheses, line, I'm going to add %line no, and that has to actually be surrounded by parentheses. So line no D. And finally, I want to show the file name. So I'm going to create some square brackets and add the % followed by the file name S. Now, this is probably not the most beginner-friendly example, but it's just to show you how powerful the basic config actually is. So now that we have this line, we can add a comma, and I also want to format the AsciiTime. So down here, we're going to insert date format, and here you can format it however you like using the conventional formatting string. So for example, if we want the date, we'll add that, date, %month, capital year, followed by the time. So %I, %minute, and finally %second. And we're going to show whether it's AM or PM as well by using the %p. So this is the format we're going to be using. And finally, we have the level of debugging. What happened to my debugging? What am I talking about? The level of logging.debug. And now we can finally log some info and get some really neat logs in the console. So if we have logging.info and we type in hello, my name is Slim Shady. And then we have logging.warning. Oh no, you got me. You'll see that when we run this, we'll get this error. And if we look up here, we'll have the formatting field not found in record level name. And the reason behind this is that this should be a lowercase n and not a capital N. But if we rerun this, we're going to get the format that I was talking about. So in info at this date and this time, it said, hello, my name is Slim Shady on line number 9 in main.py. Now, maybe we don't really care about the date, so we'll just remove that. That might be very important if you have lots of logs running over a course of several days, maybe on a website, maybe somewhere else. Who knows? That's up to you. But I'm going to exclude it for now because it's really cluttering the console. But you can see that we're getting a lot of information back. And if we run this again now that we took away the date, we will only have the time and whether it's in the morning or in the evening. Then we'll get the message followed by the line number and so on. So we can actually now start moving these on different lines and it's going to give us the line back. And that's how powerful it is compared to print. Print doesn't give us any of this information. It's just convenient to use print because it's one keyword and you don't need to configure anything. But once you configure logging, it just becomes so much more informative. And I know you are thinking, why did we create the other module? And that's just to show you that we can also import other module, and right under other module, we are just going to call the function, or actually we have to refer to it. So other module dot function. And I know PyCharm's not going to be happy that I placed this all the way at the bottom, but who cares? So let's run this and you'll see that we will get the log from other module.py. So it actually displayed to us the location of where it came from at which line, even if it was in a different module, which means now we can also change the name of other module as many times as we want, and it's always going to give us an accurate representation of where it's coming from. And to demonstrate that, we're just going to rename this to hello module. And if we rerun this, other module is not going to be defined, obviously, because now I'm importing something different. So here we'll type in hello module. But as soon as we import the correct module that exists, we're going to get line number 5, hello module.py. So it updated that for us, which means we don't have to go in hello module and change this message each time we want to log something. It's doing that for us, so we don't even have to say this. We can just say, I am free now. And that's exactly what it is, because once you run this line of basic configuration, any code that's run after that using the logging module is going to use that basic configuration. So we did not have to call basic configuration in hello module to make it work. We just had to call it after that we actually specified this. Because if we were to import hello module before the basic configuration, then we're not going to get the effect that we want. We're going to get what we had earlier because it did not have the chance to run this line of code. So as you could see, using the logging module is super easy and it gives us a lot of benefits when it comes to formatting. I definitely recommend you check out this documentation because there's much more you can do with it. You can provide much more information than what I showed you, such as the process or the path name or just the name in general. There's a lot of formatting you can do with this. So it's really fun to play around with because, I mean, you don't need to play around with it indefinitely. You just need to find some sort of formatting that you enjoy and rearrange this in the way you like it, and then just use it for the rest of your programming career until you need to update something specific. But it will give you a lot of information in your scripts. As you can see, if we run this again, we get the line number, we get the file, we get the time, we get how important it is, and we get the message. Unlike with print, where we have to do everything manually, we can say main.py, and I guess for main.py we'll say hello. So we can do that and it will appear in the console down below. And that's of course going to remain one of our favorite methods for quick debugging. But for the bigger projects, I would recommend using logging because it does give us a lot more information. Plus you can store that all in a log file at any point you want, as I mentioned earlier. And let's actually add that. So we can type in file name and we'll say mylogs.log. And let's get the file mode and say write. So now if we run this and go to my logs, we're going to get all of that saved in a log file. In case you want to store it for later, or in case you want to continuously append to it, you can do that and you can always look through all the logs and find out where something went wrong. But anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Do let me know in the comment section down below what you think of logging. But otherwise, as always, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.